Gold royalties, mineral royalties, is an idea that we know that the NDC shared because Dr. Dufo, as finance minister, went quite far in terms of documenting the idea and how to move it forward. But in the last parliament, and the political watchers even believe that it could have been an election difficulty for the government, Agyapa royalties, which was an amendment to the mineral investment bill, became a problem and eventually had to be withdrawn, I believe. The president in his sessional address indicated that it was coming back to parliament. You are aware of that?
Yes, sir.
Why? How did you manage to convince the president that let's take this back to parliament?
I don't think the president really needed convincing. I think we are all of the absolute belief that leveraging our natural resources through a gold royalties type transaction is a game changer for us. And it is a way to be able to finally extract the value that we so deserve from this resource that we've mined for the last 100 years and have virtually nothing to show for it. So the question is, once that concept is acceptable and understood, then the problem is, how do you communicate that to the people for them to appreciate the potential that this gives us? And I think that's where maybe we slipped up, or maybe because it was so close to an election, it was fodder for the politicians to use against us. You know, what people seem to forget is that this transaction was 3 years in the making. We initially engaged transaction advisors late 2017 into early 2018. They did a thorough analysis, came up with the proposal that we set up the Minerals Income Investment Fund. So we had to draft the bill, took it to the AG, reviewed it, and then we submitted it to cabinet and then to parliament, got that passed. Then on the back of that, we then went to the process of now creating or drafting the agreements to govern the creation of the vehicle, an SPV that we're going to list to generate the income. Now, if you look at Canada and North America, their resource industry has grown by their ability to access the capital markets, to raise capital, to invest in what is a very highly risky venture. The reason why in Ghana you don't have any Ghanaians who are billionaires on the back of mining resources. In fact, you don't even have some in there who you can say that, oh, this big gold mine is owned by a Ghanaian. It's all foreign owned. It's because we don't have access to that kind of risk capital that people are prepared to give to you to go and prospect and do exploration, because it's highly risky. In Canada, you have an exchange where you can go and list a company that has never earned $1 in its life, but it's a prospecting company and it's going out to prospect. Everybody will say, okay, look, I let me give you $10 to go and do this. You raise $5 million, you go out, hire your equipment and go and do some exploration and prospecting. You find some gold resource. You then hire a consultant to come and value that resource. And then you go back to the market, to the next tranche of finance. Hey, I found something. Now it's worth X or Y based on what I think. I need more money now to go and do some digging to extract it and go and test it to see how rich the ore is and so forth. Then you go and do your second round of finance. Still, you haven't made $1, and then you go on. That is how wealth is created. And you do that by going to the capital markets, because the capital markets is a way to access $1 from 100 million people, rather than go to a bank for a loan from one institution that is going to be looking at your cash flows and your income statement.
So that was laudable. So right. So what are you going to be listing?
Okay, so now we are listing a vehicle that, so the concept of gold royalties came from the fact that so when prospectors, had done this exploration and have found the gold, right? They could go to a gold royalty company and go and see a few guys and say, guys, I know you've raised money to invest in gold mining companies. Why don't you give me money to bring this mine into development and production? And in exchange for that, I'll give you a royalty stream. A royalty means that I'll give you, let's say, 1 or 2% of the value of the gold I produce in return for this investment. So the guy sit down and say, okay, fine, not a bad idea. I'll give you this money. Go ahead, finish. You've gone to the most risky stage, which is the exploration stage. You are now going to development to start producing. So it's less risky. I'll give you the money. Go ahead. Once you start producing, you give me my 2%. So they do that. Let's say they do this for 20 different companies, right? Before you realize, they have royalty streams of from 20 different companies. Let's say each company has found 1 million ounces, so they have 2 million ounces or 200,000 ounces from this company, 100,000. Before they realize, they're getting royalty streams worth maybe 500,000 ounces, right? These royalty streams, they now go to the capital markets and say, look, I have these royalty streams based on the gold royalties from these companies that I have a share in, essentially. I'm going to come and list this company, which is giving me these royalty streams, so that I'll share these royalty streams for you. In exchange for that, give me a bunch of money today. I'll use that money to go and invest in additional royalty streams so that I can bring more royalties for us to share. So people are like, okay, fine, that's not a bad idea. How much are you getting royalty streams? You say, oh, I'm getting $100 in royalty streams every year. All right, I'll give you $500 today so that you give me that $100 a year. $100 over $500 is a 20% return, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. In fact, let's even make it even more interesting. You say you're making $10
per royalty stream.
A royalty stream. Mm-hmm. You'll say, look, I'll give you $1,000 today to get that $10, right? So what is that? That is a 1% return on the money, right? They say, okay, no, okay, fine. No, I won't do that. For let's say you're getting $50 in royalty stream. I'll give you $1,000 for that $50. That means that is a 5% return, right?
Royalty stream is money or is a metal?
Is the money equivalent of the metal.
Okay.
So he produces 100 ounces, he sells 100 ounces, you get 2% of whatever value he gets for the 100 ounces. 2%
of the money?
Of the money.
Not of the 100 ounces?
No, of the money.
Okay.
But of course, the money is dependent on the price of that ounce, which fluctuates, right? So that's why you use it as a percentage of the ounces.
So this is the industry. So Agyapa was going to be that company?
Yes. So
that is a gold royalties company?
Exactly. So in Ghana, we already are earning royalties as a country from these gold mining companies. Mm-hmm. So we're going to assign those royalties to Agyapa. Mm-hmm. So then Agyapa will go and list and share those royalty flows with investors who were prepared to give us $1,000 for every $50 of royalties we'll give them. That is a lot of leverage. That means that we are multiplying the money that we are getting by 20 times.
So the royalties will no longer come, or they will now come, but they will be owned by somebody else who has given us $1 billion or $500 million.
Exactly, in exchange for those royalty flows. But remember, we are still a 50% shareholder in the company. So we're only giving him half of the royalties. So we are still getting a portion of royalties, plus this big amount of money that we've gotten up front.
So you are sure that instead of waiting to collect the royalties, doing the business, as they say in Agyapas, is better? To collect $1 billion or collect 500 million, still own 50%.
Yes.
And then
but because that $1 billion that I'll collect today, I'll go and reinvest it in new mines. So all of a sudden, my royalty flows will double from the 50 I was getting to 100.
But why doesn't the government company do that? Why does a company called Agyapa do that?
Because the company, for the company to be able to raise that money, investors have to believe that it is transparent, is independent, and is devoid of government intervention.
Oh,
because,
I get it.
You know,
they don't want to think that it's controlled by a minister of finance.
Exactly.
Or a minister of trade, or a minister of mining.
Because tomorrow he can come and change his mind. You know, and a lot
but
of
the Minister of Finance can sign a document and says, I'm not entitled, I'm not allowed to change my mind.
No, but if the government changes, the next government comes, you can't be assured that.
But you inherited IPPs, you couldn't do anything about it?
Yes, because it's a contractual obligation.
Yeah, so they can make that obligation available.
You're right, but you see, it is harder to do, right? You see, look at what we are going through with the IPPs right now. You know, if they were a listed company, they would have had to disclose to their shareholders that, you know, the government of Ghana is not very happy with us, and there's a possibility that they might not pay us on time or something of the sort. That is a risk. You know, by going through a company that is listed offshore and having a clear, transparent transfer of these royalties to that company, the investors know that there's no way government can interfere whatever happens in that.
Okay, so this Agyapa has a contract
and
with...
sorry, let me just say this, because I think also the reason why investors are adamant about this is because in the past, they've experienced or borne the brunt of government interference. When Ashanti Goldfields almost went under because of a margin call that Goldman Sachs called on them, they were in a very dire situation and they needed to be saved. And one of the ways that they could be saved was another company to bail them out and buy them, because they were still very viable. They had gold resources that were some bar none worldwide. The only problem was that they didn't have the cash at that immediate juncture to meet the margin call. So, they were forced into bankruptcy situation. Now, they could have gotten a bailout. There was companies that were looking around and would have bought them. But government refused, and government exercised their right via their golden share. So even though government was a minority shareholder, that golden share allowed them to veto the transaction, which would have saved shareholders, because shareholders would then not have lost their shares. So they are sitting down and saying, you want me to come and invest in this thing? I have to be absolutely certain that government cannot change is mind and say tomorrow, oh, no. I want to nationalize.
But why can't the private owners of Agyapa also change their mind? They can also change their mind, can they?
Which private owners?
Whoever owns Agyapa who is not government, which is the point you're making. Yeah, it's better that way.
Yeah, but they are not the managers of the company. They are just shareholders. This is a publicly listed company, and they are just shareholders in a publicly listed entity. They cannot change their mind. All they have is the shares.
So why should a Ghanaian be happy that Agyapa is listed on a stock exchange?
Because one, he is also can be a shareholder in that company.
He the Ghanaian?
He the Ghanaian.
If he has money?
He has money. And we were going to do a dual listing here in Ghana and there. So they can also see their investment grow in terms of their investment.
So how does the gold industry benefit? The gold industry in
Obuasi,
the gold industry in Dwabeng?
Because that 1 billion that we raised from that IPO, we bring it back and back our Ghanaian entrepreneurs who are into gold mining on a small scale, who have prospective license and concessions.
Who is the owner of that 1 billion that is raised?
It will be government.
Government of Ghana?
Yes.
GOG?
Yes.
Not Agyapa?
Sorry, it will be Agyapa, which will be the owner of the 1 billion, yes.
Okay, so
but you see, the ultimate owner of those royalties was government.
Yes.
Government gave you the royalties. He gave it to you at a certain price, right? So you will pay him back some of the money for that. But that entity will be MIF, because MIF is now the shareholder. So yeah, so
MIF is government?
Yes.
So who gets the 1 billion?
So the 1 billion will be shared between MIF and Agyapa.
The part that Agyapa gets, who benefits from that?
Agyapa will then use it to invest in additional mines.
In Ghana?
In Ghana and in Africa.
Okay, so why is Agyapa benefiting from that money? The one that MIF gets, Agyapa gets some, and then it goes to a mine in Zambia.
Yes.
Why should I be?
Because when it goes to buy shares or buys the royalty flows from that mine in Zambia, all of a sudden the share price for Agyapa will go up.
Yes.
Because now he has additional resources in there.
So the value of Agyapa is bigger.
Exactly.
What does that got to do with me as a Ghanaian?
Because government still is a 50% shareholder in Agyapa.
Ah, I get it.
Right.
Okay, so government is a 50% shareholder in Agyapa.
Yeah.
Because Agyapa ran on the back of government royalties.
Yes.
So who is the other 50%? Those who gave the 1 billion?
These are your Joe Schmo in...
Those who gave the 1 billion?
Yes, the guys who gave the 1 billion. Yes.
So the 1 billion came to take 50% of the company away?
Yes. We are just using numbers
and leave 50% for MIF?
Yes, for MIF.
Okay, in return, 1 billion comes in?
Yes.
Okay, so why does Agyapa control that 1 billion? Shouldn't it come to MIF?
No, that's what I'm saying, that the money is shared between Agyapa and MIF. MIF will take maybe 900 million and Agyapa will take 100 million.
Is that predetermined on paper?
Yes, we are agreed, yes.
Okay, and it's like that? It's like what you're saying, 90 to 10?
Yes, it's about a 90 to 10 or 80 to 20% split. But it was also depending on the valuation and how much we thought we'll get. But it was a 90 to 10 type.
Before Agyapa is listed, who owns it?
100% by MIF.
Oh, I see. Before Agyapa is listed, it's owned 100% by the Mineral Investment Fund.
Yes.
Which is 100% owned by Government of Ghana.
Yes.
Okay, so Government of Ghana, so Agyapa is created.
Yes.
And is 100% owned by MIF.
MIF.
Agyapa goes to the market.
Yes.
Sets off 50%.
Yeah, MIF sells 50% of its shares in Agyapa
to investors.
To investors.
Who bring in 1 billion, 500 million,
Yeah,
whatever they bring.
Exactly.
And they get 50% of
Yes.
the company.
Yes.
So they benefit when the company's interest goes up.
Yes.
Now that,
and so does MIF.
Yeah. Okay. So that money that comes in is to develop mines.
Yes.
But it's not exclusively Ghanaian mines. So what if they...
No, it depends. You see, so MIF's mandate is to create and develop the mining industry in Ghana by supporting Ghanaian mining companies and generating income from our mining resources. Agyapa's mandate is a publicly listed royalties company whose responsibility is to maximize the value and return to shareholders by identifying and investing in mining opportunities that will give them these royalty flows that will then maximize shareholder value. So there are two different roles being played here. Agyapa's role is a pure market-related role, where it will look across the whole Africa space to find the best opportunities for it to invest in to generate maximum value for its shareholders, of which MIF is a beneficiary. MIF's responsibility is to ensure that the royalties we receive and the other benefits we receive from our gold resources are used to develop our mining resources, and our Ghanaian people who are involved in these businesses that have not even been able to...
So if I'm a miner, I am Chamaun to me, I'm a miner.
Yes.
I go and take money from MIF out of this. I take $10 million.
Yes.
I go to a mine in Sankore, wherever.
Yes.
I get gold. I mine.
Yeah.
I pay back $10 million to MIF.
No, it depends on how you take it. So MIF can give you the money for equity, for an equity share in your mine.
In my mine, yeah.
Right? Or they can give it to you as a loan. It depends on what stage.
If they take
Most
an
likely,
equity share,
it will be an equity share.
If they take an equity share, that equity is for MIF.
Yes.
It's not for Agyapa.
No, it's for MIF.
Okay, so I go and mine and I get 80 million.
Yes.
And so they take equity maybe 20%.
Yeah.
They have 20% of that 80 million. The rest is for me.
Yes.
No Agyapa issues
No.
in there. Agyapa is still sitting on London Stock Exchange.
Yes, it's still sitting on London. But once you start producing your gold, when to me companies start producing your gold and selling it, you pay royalties to Ghana government, which is to MIF, right?
Yeah.
So MIF will now be collecting these royalties. MIF can now turn around and tell Agyapa that, hey, I have a new royalty stream from this new mine that has opened. Do you want to buy it? And then Agyapa will say, oh, no, I'm more interested in someone in Zambia because they are giving me better terms. Or they turn to MIF and say, oh yeah, I'll buy these royalty streams. What value are you placing on these royalty streams? Okay, give me $20 for it. You know what I mean? Because it is X, Y, or Z. And then they come to some armless transaction, and then Agyapa acquires these royalty streams. Then it announces to its shareholders or to the public listing company that they have acquired an additional royalty stream from such a mine in such a company. And then, most likely than not, the share price reflects that additional increase in value.
And MIF is still 50% in Agyapa?
Yes.
MIF is still in there?
Still in there.
So whatever happens to Agyapa, MIF gets something?
Yes.
Okay. If another government comes in, tomorrow, Paul Adom-Otchere is elected president of Ghana, he says, look, I don't want this thing.
Yes.
Parliament, have another look at it. That is to say, repeal the Minimum Investment Act. What happens? MIF is gone.
Yes, MIF is gone, but Agyapa is not gone.
How does any Ghanaian benefit from Agyapa?
Because somebody will still have to hold the Ghanaian shares. So if the act is repealed, I presume that the shares will then be moved back to Ministry of Finance.
Okay. So I repeal MIF, the 50% share is still there.
Yes, still.
I say give it to Ministry of Lands and Forestry.
Or SIGA, or Lands and Forestry.
Okay, I get that point.
Yeah.
And business continues.
Business continues.
The other 50% of the people who gave me the money, who have the Agyapa, they are gone.
Yeah, they are still there. They are shareholders.
So I'm very angry. I say that, look, come for your 1 billion and give me back the 50% shares.
You can't do that. You have to buy the shares back.
On the stock exchange?
Yes.
I see. It's getting better in my mind. But
that's the protection you are getting by listing a company rather than doing...
But this is quite transparent, as you explained to me in the last 10 minutes. Why do you have to have something people are concerned about, a safe haven, something like that, where you're hiding names of people and all that?
No. So, you see, when you're doing a transaction of the size of... this size of transaction, you want to list on a stock market that has the depth and the breadth to be able to absorb a $500 million or $1 billion IPO, right? So if you look at the Ghanaian Stock Exchange, and the size of the Ghanaian Stock Exchange. Even MTN struggled to raise I don't know how much it was, 100 or 200 million odd, that they wanted to raise domestic.
30 million actually.
30 million, right. So there's no way that this market today can absorb a transaction of that size. And you won't even get the variety and depth of investors that will create the demand through an auction process to drive the value up for you to maximize the value you get for this company. So we needed to find a stock exchange that, one, was known for its gold stocks, that it had a lot of gold companies on there, and two, was deep enough, vibrant enough, and attractive enough to attract the kind of diverse investor base so that we could maximize the value we got. And the London Stock Exchange seemed to make a lot of sense because, one, is under English law, two, it is very transparent, three, the corporate governance rules are the most stringent, and four, even the board, to be able to get board members for a publicly listed company on the London Stock Exchange, the due diligence and the scrutiny that the board members have to go through is unprecedented. So we knew that by doing that, we would be able to give investors the assurance that this will be a company that will be run by international standards. And we also will have access to the
Yes, but that's the London Stock Exchange bit, which we all agree with.
Now, but if we incorporated in London, we'll be subject to London tax issues.
Yeah.
So you will have a situation where you're repatriating these royalties to London, which in itself, royalties in their sense are already a tax. There's a tax on the mining companies. It gets to London, is in the London entity, and the London entity would then be declaring a profit and may be taxed. So what happens is that you go into a tax-neutral haven or a tax-friendly haven, which Jersey in the Channel Islands gives us.
So this was a tax circumvention agenda?
It was the most tax-efficient way to do that. And in fact, Vodafone is actually incorporated in Jersey and listed on the London Stock Exchange.
Vodafone Ghana? No, Vodafone International.
Group, yes. Yeah. Vodafone International. And there are a lot of other companies.
By the way, this Jersey you talk about is not United States?
No, it's Channel Islands.
Okay.
Yeah, it's off the coast of the UK.
Okay.
Right. And so there are a lot of companies that are listed on the London Stock Exchange, but incorporated in Jersey for this very reason, that is the most tax-efficient haven. And because it's so close to London, a lot of companies just do that because you can have your offices there and be in London in 30 minutes or in a short flight. So that's the primary reason, because that way we knew that we could raise the amount of money that we thought that the company had the potential to raise.
Okay, that's an interesting one. So who are you hiding? That's my final question. Whose name are you hiding from?
We're not hiding anybody's name.
So who are the directors?
The directors are known.
They're known?
Yeah.
Parliament knows it?
No. We, the directors of Agyapa need to be approved by the London Stock Exchange.
So not yet?
Yeah, they haven't been
But once they are approved, they will be public?
Oh, public. It will be in the prospectus. We had recommended some Ghanaians, yes.
I see.
Yeah.
Akufo-Addo is not a director?
No, at all.
Charles Adu Boahen is not a director?
No.
Kelly Gajepo is not a director?
He's not a director.
Adom-Otchere is not a director?
Nope. Never.
I see. Who are the directors of MIF?
The directors of MIF, the chair is Honorable Duka, Duka from Takwa. We have Koi Suman, who is on there. He's a lawyer at the Jubilee House. We have the CEO, Yaba, who is on there. We have a lady from our offices, Felicia Ashley, who is on there. She's also a lawyer. We have Maxwell Opoku-Afari, the deputy governor. There are some 3 statutory requirements for
like institutional representation.
Institutional representation. The deputy governor from Bank of Ghana, the Commissioner General of Ghana Revenue Authority, and I think Mining Commission CEO or director. So those are also represented on it.
Who are the shareholders then of Agyapa? Right now is MIF.
MIF, 100%.
And the other people who invest the money?
Nobody. It's just MIF, 100%.
So eventually it will be MIF as 50% and those who invest the money?
Shareholders, the public is essentially, because you are doing what you call a public offer. So it's an initial public offer.
Yeah.
So it's open to the public. Anybody.
Okay, so we might end up with Facebook buying some of it?
Yeah, you can end up with Facebook buying,
Twitter,
Google. You can even get some Vodafone. You can get a lot of sovereign banks. Central banks may take it up because the royalty portfolio, you know.
So is Agyapa a Ghanaian company?
Yes, it has a Ghanaian name. It will be a Ghanaian company listed on the London Stock Exchange.
And it will be listed on the Ghana Stock Exchange as well. People don't understand that.
It will be a dual listing. You can have
at the same time.
At the same time.
So if I go and put 1,000 cedis on the Ghana Stock Exchange, I'll be 0.000000 shareholders.
Yeah.
How much do you recommend I put in?
Oh, I mean, it depends on your pocket.
I'm a Metro team. We want to invest. How much do you recommend?
It depends on your pocket and how much you want to invest.
Should we borrow money from Barclays Bank Ghana to invest in it?
I would never recommend anybody borrows money to buy equity. It's the fastest way to lose money.
So we shouldn't think about investing in it?
No, I mean, you should invest in it, but not through borrowed funds.
Can AGC go and invest in it?
Yes, anybody can. In fact, I think, is it Newmont? I think Newmont has shares in a royalty company. You know? So if a lot of gold companies diversify their exposure by investing in royalty companies.
So all the former galamseyers should be excited about this and waiting for this big opportunity.
They should be, because it will provide funding for them. Because that's our biggest challenge in the mining sector in Ghana. Capital.
And that's why it's gone to foreigners.
That's why it's gone to foreigners.
Okay.
We don't have the money. You know, and we don't have a private equity market in this country so that you could go to a private equity shop who will give you $50 million, $100 million in equity.
I see.
I mean, even if you look at the oil and gas sector, to really develop a field, oil and gas field deep offshore, you're talking $3, $4, $5 billion.
And we don't have that.
We don't have
but
that.
oil is sitting down.
It's already sitting there, you know.
I see.
So
when is it going to Parliament?
I don't know. We'll have to. After we pulled the deal, we went back to some of the stakeholders, engaged a lot more people, and a lot of people had some suggestions. So we've made some amendments to the investment agreement and so forth. The AG is reviewing all the documentation. The president has instructed that he do so, and has also instructed procurement to also review the procurement processes. So we'll most likely go back to cabinet with the new.
But it will still be called Agyapa?
I don't know. That's another thing that we have to
Could it be changed?
The name could be changed.
Because you had changed it earlier from Asase to Agyapa?
Yes, we did.
I see. Okay. Yeah. But it will still be a Ghanaian name?
Yes. I mean, ideally we would like that. But it's funny, some of the feedback we got. People are like, hey, Agyapa there, somebody's there. You know, it's fun. You know, anything you do, somebody will have some way to twist it for it to think that
Agyapa there for who? The people of Ghana?
Exactly. It makes you wonder. We thought it was for the people of Ghana, but somebody seems to be interpreting it differently.
I see.